No, look, I think let's respond to the question that she has asked as to what is going to happen with the homelessness that defines a lot of our people in the urban and peri-urban spaces. One, there's levels of unemployment in South Africa. Stats SA has just illustrated that we've got upward of 11 million people who are looking for jobs and cannot find them. And we've got high levels of poverty. And what are the primary and fundamental systemic causes of those? Is of a stagnant economy which has not been growing. National Treasury says in the budget this year that for the past 12 years, the economy has been growing at 0.8% on average. So once you do not have the expansion of the productive forces, a lot of people will not be able to find sustainable income to build homes for themselves. And such that even the interventions which government will give through low-cost housing is not adequate to could meet the otherwise very huge demand of homelessness that defines a lot of our people. And of course, there will be influx into urban centers because what the ANC has failed to do since 1994 is to undo the spatial segregation that was designed by apartheid and the manner in which it was dealt with that. Apartheid was primarily a spatial problem, of course an economic reality, and racism and political problem as well. But spatially, the ANC has failed to reverse the consequences of apartheid where white people stayed in certain areas and black people stayed in certain areas where the economy was only concentrated in certain urban centers and everyone else was forced to going into those urban centers to look for jobs. So what we have to do
so your minute
is to grow the economy.
And I want to go back to that earlier question that I asked, because one of the things that the EFF had said on addressing landlessness and the issues around housing is that if land is vacant and you are able to settle there, is that still the message?
So as part of our land program and campaign, which was a very progressive and successful program, by the way, where it said that because the spaces where black people stay in the peri-urban areas, be it Elias Mtswale, the informal settlement, be it Deep Sloot, be it Alexander, it's highly congested. The population density in those areas is far much more higher than anywhere where it's acceptable for human beings to stay in such areas. You'll find one stand, by the way, which is reserved possibly for like 3-4 members, household family, with more than 50 people staying in such spaces. If you go to Alexander today, and then you check those toilets which are put by a government there, and then you just check the number of cleaners who are listed to clean those toilets there, you will find more than 30 people, meaning that that toilet is utilized by more than 100 people. And that is standard in almost all the informal settlements due to the failure of the post-1994 government to reverse the injustices of apartheid at a spatial level.
Let's ask the post-1994 government. Mr. Mtswale, the ANC has been in governance in South Africa since 1994. At the moment, the housing backlog, some of the numbers say in this country, is beyond 2 million, in fact, which is much more than what it was when you became the party of government. What is the solution now to the issue of people who now are setting up informal settlements because they're simply tired of waiting? Will you service those areas and simply allow them to live there?
Well, the truth of the matter, Tembegile, is that urban migration is a global phenomenon. It's happening all over the world. People are moving to urban areas. And when they do so, they need housing. The truth of the matter is that we are the only country, as far as I know, we started developing RDP houses, building houses for people without them paying anything. It's happening nowhere in the world. And 4 million have already been built, which means a start has been made. Quite a number of people who come to urban areas looking for houses. Yes, it has been reported they do have houses back home, but because there are no jobs there, in fact, houses which some of them never build for themselves, even RDP houses, because there was a problem of database. So there are people who leave the RDP houses to come to the urban areas to look for jobs. And of course, they have not been planned for. So I do accept what FLOYD is saying about the stagnation of the economy. That is one of the solutions. But I do not think there's any way in which the issue of urban migration can be stopped. Just
your minute is up, sir. Is it stagnation or simply because there's been a failure to plan? What is the solution?
Well, it is stagnation. It is definitely...
As a result of what, a failure to plan?
No.
Or not understanding the problem?
Economic stagnation in the country because of structural factors of the economy, which you
The House seems to disagree.
Well, they are disagreeing because it's me. But this is the truth. That the economy, even some of the people who are living have said so before, that we need to change structural factors of the economy. I know Kosatu has said that many times. Because of those structural factors, we are not able to let the economy get moving. But if you look at our manifesto, we have started to put things and plans there. Yes.
We're 10 minutes in and I'm already sweating. I'm looking for the Socio-Economic Rights Institute because they're among the people who are part of this broadcast tonight. Ma'am, if I can ask you to stand up because you have a question.
Well, I'm here with Lerato Marolo from Slovo Park. It's an informal settlement in the south of Johannesburg. It was established in 1991. And to date, despite a court judgment that ordered the city of Johannesburg to upgrade the informal settlement, Slovo Park today is still waiting. They received the electricity in 2018, but the fact remains they're still waiting. Politicians come to Slovo Park frequently. Recently, it was the premier who promised that he'd return, but there's nothing. I think what is absent is a comment on what we're going to do about land redistribution. Unfortunately, informal settlements are a product of landlessness. They're a product of our history, as the EFF has noted, but they are also an urbanization issue, as the ANC has noted. So ultimately, you know, in addition to the economic factors, we can't hide away from the fact that land redistribution is needed. And currently, that is the problem with Slovo Park, where the city and province both don't know what to do with acquiring the land that is apparently owned by the province.
Okay, thank you. Quick one. I'll give you each a sentence to respond, Mr. Motsoaledi, and then Mr. Shivambu, and then you, Mr. Msimang.
Well, on the issue of the land, we agree wholeheartedly. And you are aware that we also subscribe to the issue of land, to redistribute land, and also to make sure that there's no, the law on compensation which has been followed, that we do not actually support it, as you know. On that one, we are together with EFF, except that when it came to voting, they deserted us.
Okay.
It has been happening now. They deserted us, but we are still pursuing that. We know it needs 2/3. We know that one day, as black people, realize that we need land and do that.
Floyd, your take. Will that one day be in 30 years if you're not in government?
Do you know that in 1996, the white paper on land reform had set 1999 as the due date for a distribution of 30% of South Africa's land? It's 30 years later now. It's 25 years since 1999. Not even 10% of the land has been redistributed from those who are occupying it through colonialism and settler barbaric colonialism because of an incapable, directionless government of the ANC. And when we then came as the economic freedom fighters, we say that this piece by piece redistribution of land has not worked because it, in majority of cases, is faced with litigation of people who are saying that you cannot take my farm, you must take these ones instead of this. Why taking mine? Why prioritizing mine instead of the other one? Then we say that let us do to the land resources what was done to the petroleum and mineral resources, to water resources, what the People's Republic of China is doing, of getting the land to be under the custodianship of the state so that we can be able to allocate it to everyone equitably representative and reflective of the demographics of South Africa.
And that's where you and
that is our position. That is it. Of course, then the ANC had initially agreed to our position, and then they later on said that the only land that can be taken without compensation is barren land, is rotten land, is land which is not strategic. That is why we voted against what they had proposed.
The difference was in terms of when you say that land, for example, that is taken or redistributed or meant for redistribution, the state should be the custodian. And I think that was the core difference between the EFF and the ANC.
Yes, on the expropriation without compensation, we fully agree. The difference, yes,
is on custodianship.
When they said all the land must be owned by the state only, meaning individuals can't own land.
Right.
That is where we differ.
DA, you
That's
don't
why
want
they did
any
not
of it.
vote with us.
Solly, you don't want any of it as the
There
DA.
can be an ongoing discussion and debate about whether land expropriation without compensation is actually legal or not legal. It's actually there in the constitution of the country. They haven't been able to then adequately use it, and instead, where they've been able to then use it, it has been used to advantage those that are politically connected, and it has actually then resulted in a whole lot of corruption. So that is the first thing.
So you
The
don't
second
agree?
thing- hang on. The second thing is this year. We haven't really addressed the real issue. If the issue was all about land, I promise you people would not be living in Limpopo,
10 seconds.
people would not be living KZN, people will not be living in the Eastern Cape.
think they've
They are
got land
living and going into where the economy is. People are chasing more the economy, and we need to then address that. Once we address the issue of the economy, we can then talk about where people are settling.
They're both looking at you in disbelief, by the way. This is the big debate.
We say that there must not be a basic need which people with disabilities like from the proper grant that is sustainable, but also from a human settlement point of view. Because we go to informal settlements during now, generally where people stay. And you find people who are using wheelchairs, staying in a shack that doesn't even have a toilet, the pit toilet very far, or even relying on the bush. And how inhuman society can be, such that even people on wheelchairs are not even taken care of. The number is not insurmountable in South Africa of people with disabilities, and the state should take full responsibility of all people with disabilities, but also give them meaningful opportunities to be given access to quality education and be given and prioritized in the creation of jobs. And that is what we have been dealing with. And our perspective, by the way, is informed by the people who are active on the sector of disability.
Got you.
And it's very clear.
Solly, I cut you off the last time, so I'm going to let you speak in the middle so you've got more time.
So first of all, we're talking about access. And we are the first party and the only party in South Africa that has even have their manifesto in Braille, because we want to make sure that access is actually given to the people. So we have done that to demonstrate that we are serious about ensuring that there is access in terms of the transport, that should be friendly towards people that are living with disability, that you should actually even have facilities that are able to then cater for that. I was today in a place where they built houses, for people that, they couldn't even, the lady who's got a wheelchair has to be lifted up from a wheelchair into the house. Now we are saying, how do you then ensure that you give people dignity if people have to live like that? And this is what we are talking to. But it all begins with access and making sure that people are able to then get, the services that they deserve.
ANC policy on people with disabilities.
Yes. People with disabilities are just people like us, and they need to live like us. And so we agree on the issue of access, and we have actually started. It's a process. It's not something that is going to be an event of changing all the buildings all at once. We are doing it bit by bit. There are already ramps all over the country, which were never there before. Secondly, I think we are the first party that included people with disabilities in Parliament. We had quite a number of MPs, and the other parties are learning from us to include people with disabilities so that they help formulate the policies that are going to help them.
Right.
Last week, I went to Mokopane with the president, and they say again that we are campaigning. When you unveil the tracks that we've been building for the past 2 years, if you look at all of them, they've got ramps to pick somebody up, put them in the truck so that they can apply for IDs, birth certificates, and all that. We are doing that because we recognize the needs of people with disabilities. We, in Home Affairs, have issued the first marriage certificate written in Braille.
Okay.
Issued it 3 years ago.
Time's up. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to do 2 questions in the middle, 2 questions here, 2 questions there, have responses and do the same. So I'll come to you first. Welcome to you.
Finally, thank you. Thank you to the representatives from the political parties. I think mine will be more of a plea more than a question. I think if you look at the faces of young people here, they are very much hungry for a functional government. And my question basically is, when will the government who is going to take over, probably after the election, take people of this country very seriously. Because we are lacking that. We are busy with politics. Who does what? Who doesn't do what? When are we going to sit down and really take serious these people of this country?
Your hand was up for quite a while. Your question. I'll hold it for you.
Oh, okay. Firstly, I must say, as young people of this country, we are not ignorant. We know of what has happened in the past 30 years. But where there have been mistakes, we are saying, let's correct them. But in doing that, we need to face the reality. One thing that is left in this country is to distribute the wealth of this country equally so. And it must be done with an immediate effect. Let us stop the true reflection of what people stands for. I want to ask, in particular, Uguti, here in this room, there are organizations, and does he really believe that the DA is willing to address the race issue? If he does, why in this room, in the delegation that is brought by DA, there's only 2 black people?
There was one here. Oh, here, ma'am. Let's let her speak, please.
Mine is more on the NSP. We have a nice policy that talks about gender-based violence, and that says perpetrators should not be given bail, strictly so. But we're still having perpetrators being, the first day when the person gets arrested, the first thing that they think about is apply for bail, and they get it. We also, on the NSP, it says that people that commit SGBVF should have harsh sentences, but we still have people that are getting minimum sentences. What are all these big fishes going to do with that? As women, we need protection in this country.
Let's start with the gender-based violence question. Solly, you were also asked if the DA is going to address the issue of race in South Africa. Also, the gentleman, I think, pointed out that in your delegation, you've got more white faces than you do black.
I love that because when you march, when you have a march and you're protesting against something, they will say, where are the white faces? You then come again, they say, where are the black faces? Decide what you want. Decide what you want. That's the first thing. Decide what you want.
Let him finish.
Decide what you want.
Let him finish.
The thing is, the funny thing is, we are the party that is the most diverse in terms of representation, and we can prove that. In parliament, in legislatures, we can prove that. The EFF walked in. No women there, no white. Are we going to start doing that? Do we bean counting and all of that? Are we going to start doing bean counting? So I am saying, I'm saying the issue with us is that in order to address the issue of imbalances and to address the issue of the past in terms of the racial indifferences, you don't then create a new racial segregation. That is what the ANC has done. You bring everybody together, and that's how you're able to then build the United Nations.
We've gathered in this country for summits.
Sorry, they are making noise.
We've gathered for summits, had the president...
to that thing.
Can you not hear me? So we've gathered in this country and spoken about gender-based violence, yet more women are being raped, they're being murdered. What is your government going to do if it comes back about this problem? Because women are feeling increasingly unsafe.
That's a very, very painful thing. I fully agree with her. I'm one of the people who subscribe to the issue of no bail for people who are involved in gender-based violence. I strongly, strongly support that. And I'm aware that the Department of Justice have started a law about that. I also want stiff sentences for people who commit gender-based violence, because we can't have women of this country not living in peace at all. So I'm at peace with what she said. I fully endorse it and I support it.
EFF?
Yeah. Now, look, do you know, Tembekile, the criminal justice system in South Africa is not conducive for victims of gender-based violence to could report their cases in a much more meaningful way, because they are made to queue in the same lines with people who are looking for affidavits and all sorts of things in the police station, and then they're shouted at by the people who are supposed to be receiving information in a quieter and much more safer environment. That has to change. I think that either the SAPS or a different institution should be a platform where whenever there's a gender-based violence case, it's reported on, and then a person is not intimidated, because you find a rape victim is being asked, and then what happened? Did you take off your clothes? And then what happened? How long have you known him? In a police station. It's not fair. It's not fair on our people. So there must be safer spaces for women to report gender-based violence, and then those cases must be followed through and be handled on a
There's
much more
another
meaningful.
issue that hasn't been addressed, that when women are raped, you have a very huge backlog in South Africa. That this is why cases are not even making their way to courts, that can get perpetrators arrested and prosecuted. So you can talk about no bail, but then if you're not even going to get somebody arrested, how are you going to get them prosecuted in the first instance?
Okay.
We are saying they've failed, as Floyd has said, they've failed to address the issue of providing,
Let's Swali finish. Let's allow Swali to finish.
They are failing to address the issue of the infrastructure. There's supposed to be things called, safe zones when you go to police stations. Those are not there. But over and above that, I'm saying you don't even have the issues of ensuring that the labs are working, fast enough to be able to then produce the evidence to put perpetrators behind jail.
As a woman living in this country, I mean,